That's News at 1, daily at 1 p.m. on SABC News.
Good evening, I'm Peter Ndoro and you're watching SABC News Prime Time.
A very good evening, I'm Vabakshini Chetty. A hybrid eclipse is very rare. The last one occurred in 2005 and the next one is predicted for April 2023. Deposed Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi remained defiant on the first day of his trial. He appeared in a Cairo courtroom from inside a cage. The trial was adjourned until January after Morsi disrupted the proceedings.
That's Primetime News, daily at 6 p.m. on SABC News.
Zoom into Africa. This is Burundi. The president is Mr. Pierre Nkurunziza. Burundi got independent from Belgium on 1st July in 1962. The population is more than 8 million people. One of Burundi's major languages spoken is French. Monetary unit is Burundi franc.
The household structure has changed drastically. Traditionally, orphans were absorbed by extended members of their family. But today, that safety net is no longer effective and children are left to fend for themselves.
When you look at Section 137 of the Children's Act, it has made provision that these children, after being recognized as child-headed household, need to be placed under an adult supervisor.
Join us again next week as we bring you stories of change makers, hope and courage.
Well, if you've just joined us, whether it's on SABC 1, Channel 404, SAFM, or SABC News Online, welcome to this evening's election debate. Tonight, we are talking about the state of municipalities in South Africa. Remember, that is where we, as the people, interface with our government. Are they dysfunctional? What are the problems? How do we fix them? What's working? And how do we do more of that? Mr. Tsunoli, I want to start with you. I want to raise a couple of issues that the SCOPA chairperson we saw in the inset also raised. Because these are issues that are in fact raised by the last Auditor General report on the state of municipalities. And one of the things he highlighted was a lack of what he called commitment, a lack of committed leadership responsible, he says, for some of the financial management problems that we're seeing in municipalities across the country. I think at a personal level, it's an indictment that even the metropolitan municipalities, which are our biggest municipalities where you get the most well-paid public servants at that level of government, where you have the best skills, arguably, that you can get in this country, yet those municipalities, too, could not get clean audits. So financial mismanagement, a big problem.
One of the biggest lessons we have learned is that of the backlog of capacity in the country as a whole. Professionals get stolen everywhere else, including inside our country, from poor to rich. But what we are doing about it is that we have already agreed to bring together all the training and capacity building initiative into local government institute, a single mechanism to ensure we have good capacity and we increase the quantity and number. But we have already also produced regulations that prevent the employment of people without capacity. But also not only that, those who do have some capacity but it's incomplete, in 18 months they must be fired if they don't fulfill those requirements. And so these initiatives, not only that, but talking about the wages and salaries, of course we've also beginning of this month, as a result of those regulations, introduced the capping of municipal salaries of officials, because weaker municipalities could not do it on their own, but But that must be guided. And these are initiatives that will produce the result. The Auditor General himself recognizes elements of progress happening in those areas of audits and so on. Okay. And this is what we want to reinforce.
Mr. Baloyi, your party is running certain municipalities. Among the 8 metros that we have, one of them is in fact being run by the Democratic Alliance, but it too seems to be struggling on this question.
Maybe just a correction there, because in terms of the latest audit outcomes, the City of Cape Town actually came with a clean audit. So it must be qualified that the City of Cape Town is the only metro in the country which achieved the clean outcome process. But to add further to that and say what are the challenges, we have seen after the Auditor General's report, what they have indicated there, that you have a regression in the audit findings. That a point where they were a few months ago, later on they're not there. In fact, it has gotten worse because then corruption has multiplied within the very same space. There's a failure in leadership in these municipalities and government. And also there's a lack of capacity, as the minister has said. And most importantly, you don't find that you have clear consequence management for poor performance. People that don't perform keep getting rewarded. If you look at the trend in these institutions or government institutions that are not performing at all, you will find that people at a senior level have been retained.
Thank you very much. That's Mr. Baloyi from, of course, the Democratic Alliance. Mr. Moerane, I think the problem has been stated and restated, backed by Auditor General reports, backed by the evidence, some of the evidence that the chairperson of SCOPA in this province spoke about. The question to you, I guess, is what a UCDP government will do to rectify the wrongs that we've seen.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, from a UCDP perspective, it is South Africa is a constitutional democracy. What do I mean by saying that? I'm saying the Constitution in terms of the provisions of Section 154 and Section 105 of the Municipal Systems Act, both national and provincial spheres of government should monitor and support municipalities. Secondly, in terms of Section 34 of the MFA, Act number 56 of 2003, both national and provincial spheres must assist to build capacity to let the municipalities to function effectively and efficiently, and failure to do so by both the province and the national. That is something that one could say is breach of the Constitution of South Africa. Now, we are saying as the UCDP, there is a lot of lack of capacity at both levels, province and municipalities.
Okay, let me ask you to hold your thoughts right there. I'm going to come to Mr. Dingile. Mr. Dingile, from the ACDP's point of view, how do you address the challenges of financial mismanagement, the regression in the number of municipalities that are getting clean audits, and generally the palace state that has been painted by one Auditor General report after the other?
Look, as ACDP, we are saying we are ready to take all those public officials and prosecute them. And we suspend them without even paying them. And after finding them guilty, they should be liable. They must pay it back. That is what we are saying. Because our people are tired. We've been struggling so much. The corruption, it is enough. Shame, ANC, shame.
Thank you very much. Well, that's the view of the ACDP. Well, just to get a sense of what people at home are thinking about tonight's topic and the remarks that have been made so far. Here's someone, Sakiwa Makubela, saying, Buffalo City Metro is the worst of them all. No service delivery. Instead is blocking electricity, and one must go pay 6,000 to open it again. Corruption is killing us. Chris van der West says municipal managers and workers must learn the concept of our country before party and self. Respect for the state, patriotism. Elvis Mbangula says Municipal staff is not helpful when you query electricity charges, slow and impatient with people. Amos Boltman says municipalities to be managed by qualified, competent persons. Being popular doesn't mean you are competent to perform. Sive Gueva says they are facing the problem of corruption. Municipality officers are very corrupt. Well, several issues being raised there around corruption, but also the capacity of municipalities. We are going to get into those issues and more. But before we take this quick ad break, Mr. Fenter, your sense of what the parties are saying, are they making sense? Are they speaking to the issues that those people who are sending our tweets, who are sending tweets to us, are actually raising?
Absolutely. If you go back to 1997, when the white paper was published on local government, it said that the structure of local government in South Africa, the new structure, is such that never in history has so few people with so little money had to do so lot of work. That is still the problem. It has now taken almost 20 years for us to get back to that position, and the problem is that a lot of the issues is outside the hands of local government. When Eskom power goes up, municipalities suffer because that's the key income source. If they don't have the skills and the management skills to manage money, I'm looking at a list here of only the local governments in Northwest. Their biggest single problem is cash flow management. That is a management skill, and that need to be corrected. What I must say, what the government has done, two things that I think they did well. The one is new legislation that forces a municipal manager not to have an official party link in terms of holding positions in party. That's a good thing. And the second thing that they've done that I think is a good thing is the Municipal Management Finance Act. It's a very good piece of legislation, but it's not implemented.
But I suppose, linked to that is also the very issue that the Minister of Finance spoke about only this past week, and that is a lot of officials who have failed in large numbers to actually submit qualifications that prove that they do have the qualifications to actually do the jobs that they are asked to do, especially specialist jobs which are in relation to, for example, financial management, supply chain management, and so on. We'll get into those issues and more after this short ad break. Don't go away.
When a man's an empty kettle, he should be on his mettle, and yet I'm torn apart. Just because I'm presuming that I could be kinda human if I only had a heart. I'd be friends with the sparrows and the boy who shoots the arrows if I only had a heart.
This is the program in which we showcase different aspects of government.
The Northern Cape is a land of many diverse cultures, of frontier history and brave missionaries. It also has countless challenges.
The Northern Cape has been plagued by especially alcohol abuse, rape and common assault and things like that.
More opportunities are being created each year to benefit all in the region.
This is A Nation at Work.
That's Sports Live, daily at 8:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, you are watching and listening to a live debate on the state of service delivery in our country. We're talking here about water, electricity, and so on. I want to start with you, Mr. Tsenoli. You are also, of course, the minister responsible for cooperative governance. And Mr. Theo Fenter raises the issue of roles of that other stakeholders in this whole mix have to play. He spoke specifically about ESCOM. I would add their water affairs, which also, looking at the last Auditor General report of national departments and other state entities, did not cover themselves in glory either. To what extent do you think you are succeeding as the government of the ANC in actually putting together or in actually ensuring that everyone along the way plays their part? The municipalities are getting a lot of flack. We know the problems. They have been highlighted by the Auditor General, but also by other research institutes and experts. But are you doing something to make sure that other players in the chain do, in fact, do their parts and local government doesn't take the flack unnecessarily?
Yes. The example is Chauke, who you just played there. He's an example of the kind of public representative vigilance of public accounts committees. They used not to be there in municipalities. They were only existed in national and provincial legislatures. We've now introduced them in 92% of municipalities throughout the country to bring about that kind of vigilance for public resources and their use. We did that with the legislatures. He's the secretary of the Association of Public Accounts. So that's an example of working together across the legislatures and so on. But most importantly, the Constitution says we are interdependent, interrelated, and this is why we are one country. Those problems such as housing and so on is directed as an example of this Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission, so that we don't only bring water, we repair roads, but we also repair clinics as well at the same time, so that they are not done in a disaggregated manner. So this is the lesson of the past 5 years. In fact, as a result of that, whereas in the previous 5 years only 581 billion was used, this past 5 years we have spent over 1 trillion rand on infrastructure. And it is the lesson of following every rand and whether it is used in the correct place and so on. That lesson is already yielding results with the progress we are making by working together.
Mr. Baloyi, do you share the view? Do you think we are able, as a country, to actually apportion blame, put the blame where it's supposed to be? Or is it a question of the easy-to-blame municipalities, they take all the flack, even though in certain instances the ESCOMs of this world are in fact the ones who are not doing their job?
I think the point I need to make is that even though our budget has increased for infrastructure and so forth, the increase has been largely, largely appropriated through corruption. So the increase of whatever budget which has been proposed has gone to corruption. That's the point that I want to make there. And you find different role players within government. You find different role players within government, and they've got their specific roles and so forth. But often you find that with these roles, they interlink, and they often complement each other. Then you find that in instances of housing, for an example, where it's a provincial competence, and the responsible provinces do not provide what they should be providing, and therefore local government, the councillors on the ground floor, are the ones who are getting the brunt from the communities. So you find non-delivery from provincial government and national departments affecting the people on the ground.
But are we putting the blame where it's supposed to go?
No. We're not, because often when there's something that is not happening within a certain space, people go out and burn our roads within a local municipality.
Thank you very much. Well, let me come to you, Mr. Dingile. What would an ACDP government do? What would you do in addressing the question of corruption that has been mentioned, the rigging of tenders that has been alluded to? Because, not too long ago, the Accountant General, Mr. Freeman Nomvalo, actually spoke about 43% of only 43% of municipalities actually being able to adhere to supply chain management regulations, which he says opens municipalities up for corruption, tender rigging, and all those things. What would the ACDP do differently?
Look, we are ready to take the bull by its horns.
The bull or the bull?
The bull. The bull. and I said in the beginning that all those public officials who are corrupt, we want to prosecute them. And we suspend them without even pay. And if we find them guilty, they will be liable and pay. Now, we as ACDP, we have leaders with integrity. Look, you take my President Reverend Kenneth Mishwe, even if you can take him to court, he is ready because he knows that his record is clean. Unlike these other presidents.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moerane, what would the UCDP do?
Yeah, thank you very much. The fact of the matter is, as you know, would do it differently. The MTT, the Ministerial Task Team in Madibeng, had actually promoted and said that some officials that are corrupt should be persecuted. But the authorities that are there failed to have done so. That is why we have seen that in Madibeng that people went out into the streets and we lost a number of lives, and that is actually fatal because it means, therefore, in most of the municipalities, we have these corrupt officials that we think, that we know that they cannot perform, but because they are cadres, then we feel that we must always keep them there. Now, with the UCDP has the experience that when we started the University of Bophuthatswana, we were actually skilling our people and preparing them for the area so that we could be deploying them in the area and then in the municipalities.
Actually, you keep going back to this point. Are you saying that life was better under Mangope in Bophuthatswana than it is today?
Yeah, definitely. I'm saying, as you compare, in terms of the 16 years that Bophuthatswana was governed by the United Christian Democratic Party, compared to the 20 years that the African National Congress has been in power, whatever we have established, this building in which we are, was established and built by Bophuthatswana.
Mr. Tsenoli, would you accept that life was better for South Africans under Mangope than it is today under the ANC rule?
No, it can't be true. In the first place, Bophuthatswana was defined by a tribal identity. Only certain people could stay here. But even that infrastructure, it was done not to service communities generally, but to prop up a so-called independent state. It did not produce the results for everybody in the country. I mean,
Mr. Baloy, your quick one on this one. Does the Democratic Alliance believe that life was better under Lucas Mangope's Bophuthatswana than it is under the ANC today?
I think generally, life in South Africa has improved after 1994.
So the UCDP is wrong?
We disagree with them on that fact.
ACDP, do you disagree with the UCDP?
Life was
improved.
Better? Life has not improved up to today. Since it is even worse with this government of today.
So life is worse today under the ANC than it was under Lucas Mangope?
Come again?
So life is worse today than it was under Lucas Mangope back in the homeland?
I would even say that because now they've just took another direction. Let me stand and say, with the government of Mangope, it was better at that time. Now it is with the government of ANC, it is worse.
Well, thank you very much. Well, those are the views of our political parties represented here. Remember, you can, of course, still form part of this evening's debate by sending us that email, sending us your tweets, and also sending us your SMSs. We are going to take another quick ad break, but before we do that, let me just read some of the tweets that some of you have sent through. Bongani Madela says, the poorest of the poor need revitalized and reformed public systems which do not emphasize profit. Triforsa says, municipal billing system a disaster. How can a resident paying monthly similar or above last year be hit with a 30K bill? Zenande says, when will these talked about suspensions occur? The public needs to be informed. Fraud needs to be dealt with immediately. Siya Luvo Vimbani says, with municipalities, managers and mayors need to start having the same goals and visions for the poor, not politics. We're going to take another quick ad break. We'll be back right after this.
Typhoon Haiyan has made landfall in Vietnam days after it left thousands dead and widespread devastation in the Philippines.
Chad Leclerc claimed 5 medals at the Japan leg of the FINA World Cup Series, 4 gold and a silver. Most importantly, it was a clean sweep in the butterfly events.
The infamous Lady Gaga.
What has she done this time? What has she done? She wears meat. She wears exaggeratedly high shoes. What has she done?
She's come out in the world's first flying dress.
That's Morning Live, daily at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
A fast-moving storm triggered multiple tornadoes in the Midwestern states of the U.S. Early reports say that at least 6 people were killed.
Consumers are up in arms over the money they have to spend to stop an influx of spam SMSs. It seems cell phone operators are making a killing from direct marketers.
That money goes to the cell phone companies and not to anyone else.
Special Congress of COSATU unions may be convened without the Labour Federation's president.
That's Primetime News, daily at 6 p.m. on SABC News.
Zoom into Africa. This is Libya. The chairman of the General National Congress is Mr. Nouri Abu Samen. Libya got independent from Italy on 10 February in 1947. The population is more than 6 million people. One of Libya's major languages spoken is Arabic. Monetary unit, Libyan dinar.
That's Sports Live, daily at 8:30 p.m. on SABC News.
Welcome back. This is a live broadcast brought to you by SABC News in partnership with the University of Johannesburg. And tonight we're coming to you from the political capital of the Northwest Province in Mahikeng, and we're talking about the state of municipalities' service delivery as it relates to such issues as water, electricity, and sanitation. Let's kick off this segment with a few emails and SMSs. One comes from, okay, I can't see the name, but it says the problem with the administration is political, not administrative. There are cliques in the ANC, and they seriously affect the running of government in all spheres. There are cliques in the ANC, Mr. Tsenoli, and they're affecting the running of municipalities.
When we look at the country as a whole, intra-party conflicts, including inter-party conflicts, are a reality. One of the things that the analyst referred to was to proactively demand that people who occupy senior positions must not themselves run the council in the first place. That's one of those things. But the other one is what we refer to in the African National Congress as a decade of the cadre. In other words, there must be programs inside the ANC itself to deal with conflict, but inside government itself, what we are looking at and already doing, the local government working with SALGA and so, is intended to improve the quality of conflict resolution inside councils. It's happening already. This year, there are 30 municipalities that received clean audit in the country. That is not a mistake. It's not a chance. It's as a result of the effectiveness of the ability of councillors in those municipalities to do their work properly and so on. There are over 140 ones that have received unqualified audits. It's as a result of their capacity to handle internal conflicts, including political conflict.
But that's out of what, 278 municipalities?
Yes, that's over 50% of municipalities. Now, meaning that what the intention is to work on the basis of our experience. Unlike all the others, we are far much more experienced, have now demonstrated what results it can produce when it is done properly. So those results, where there's a good political direction outside, there is good political performance inside the municipality.
Mr. Baloyi, what has been your experience? I mean, you are running municipalities too.
Well, just to reflect on what the minister is saying, it's actually worrying to hear the minister admit that you have intra-party politics that are spilling over into the administration. After 20 years, we should be able to understand and define and separate party and state. There should be a fundamental difference. And what we have provided, what we have showed as a democratic alliance, the ruling party in the Western Cape, I might also add, we have clearly defined that space and ensured that everyone knows the difference between party and state. And also putting the mechanisms, the checks and balances in place. But what goes to the heart of the topic today is that with the political differences within the very same ANC is spilling over into government and therefore affecting service delivery.
Well, let's ask the UCDP and the ACDP whether in fact they agree with the parties in government, whether in fact they are indeed dealing with these problems where they are ruling. Let me start with the ACDP.
No, not at all. They are not dealing with these problems. Instead of dealing with them, the problem is the we have a serious problem with them. They do know, or they have people who are corrupt within themselves. And instead of that, they should find them guilty. They rather take them to another sector where they will be more corrupt. So they are not dealing with the problem, not at all. Now, as ACDP, we say, Sugan and Deleni, we are ready. Sugan and Deleni.
Mr. Morana?
Yeah.
UCDP?
Like my opening result, my opening remarks, it was South Africa is a constitutional democracy. Now, we talk about in terms of Section 25 of the Intergovernmental Framework, Relations Framework, Act number 13 of 2005, that if such provisions of the Act are utilized to unify and make that there is cooperative and collective and agreement between the members of a single party, even if they could be a tripartite or whatever, but these systems and institutions that are in place are not utilized to the advantage of the ruling party. So we are saying, as UCDP, give us an opportunity, then let us utilize these institutions to the best of our ability.
Thank you very much. Let's take questions and comments now from the floor. Let's start with ACDP. Here, in front. Very quickly, sir, your question or comment? Yes. Okay, please make sure your microphone is working. Is it on now?
Yeah, I think it's on.
Okay, yes.
Okay, my name is Kagiso Monyadiwa, the ACDP Youth Foundation president. My question goes to the man from the Agency of the National Corruption, or should I say the ANC. Why, sir? Why are you making our people hungry for 4 years and 8 months? Then 4 months remaining. EPWP and all those things. You are electioneering.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's go to the
Why?
Let's go to the UCDP.
Ke kopa go botsa gore mo mitsing e tshwana le Masamane dingateng Mabule Morokweng lo gagane Matloding batho ba bolawang ke tlala le matlo a seo jaaka seo jana go tloga for 20 years batho ba go bereka jang ditsela tse leng gore ke go Marapiane ga gona ditsela Mahikeng ga gona ditsela Matloding ga gona ditsela ke moagi wa South Africa ke tsamaya gongwe le gongwe ke tsamayang teng di kliniki di a tswalwa ka 4:30 go itlhela ka moso ka weekend ga di bereke bagolo bomme ba bonela bana mo di-gating tsa teng.
We got the gist of your question. Thank you very much. Let's get to the DA.
Yes, my question is to the DA. Would the DA stop providing state-subsidized housing when we are in government?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's get a question from the ANC.
Oh, thanks very much. My question is going to Ntate Chesa from the African National Congress. And then the last one would go to the two gentlemen.
One question, please, sir.
Yes. Mr. Minister Chesa, I'm aware that ANC has established a lot of institutions. Others are chapter 9 institutions that are there to see to it that they are actually strengthening issues of democracy.
Your question, please, sir.
Now, my question is, the good story that ANC is having at hand about eradicating corruption, can you please share with us and elaborate further on what is it that you're intending to do?
Tsenoli, can we start with the ACDP question?
Okay. The extended public works program and community works programs are amongst the public employment programs, some of which were started early on at the beginning. They've been increasing in number over time. To illustrate, community works program in 2010 was 55,000 people. The following year, it became 89,000. As we speak, it's over 200,000. So it's increasing.
Okay, the next question.
Okay. 20 years. We can't underestimate the amount of poverty that still confronts us, including inequality. We will not be able to deliver housing next year to everybody. And that's the first response to that question about that. But about roads, we do not only depend on municipalities, but we have also, Central has contracted with the province to build the roads. And they are being built as we speak. One of them was shown here complete. There are others that are going to be complete.
Thank you very much. Mr. Palo, you want to take the question on housing and the Democratic Alliance?
The question is, will the DA stop the provision of RTP houses when we come into government? In the Western Cape, where we are the government, we are continuing and supporting that. So when we come into government, we'll continue the rollout of RTP houses. And in the Western Cape, we've got success stories.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Morane, UCDP.
I'm disappointed that the minister can really, with pride, speak about the Lichtenburg-Coster Road, which is the most expensive road in South Africa. And that road has taken more than 4 years to complete. So he cannot be proud about that. Now, secondly, I'm saying, I don't think there is any good story to tell, Vuyo. As we speak about Mafikeng, the roads are decaying, are rotting, the town is in shambles, there is no capacity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You want to do a quick one there, Mr. Tingile?
The good story to tell is story about Baba Jamba Bakura.
What about us? What about those who are vulnerable? What about those who have nothing? If you say you tell a good story, if you tell a good story, you have to help somebody, and then you can tell a good story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to take another quick ad break. We'll be back right after this.
Insurer American International Group has sold its aircraft leasing business to AerCap Holdings for $5.4 billion.
The Chinese couldn't do it, but the Dutch landed the deal. AIG sold its huge jet leasing business to Holland's AerCap Holdings.
AIG has been trying to sell International Lease Finance Corp since 2008, when the insurance giant nearly collapsed and was forced under federal government control.
AIG has been shedding businesses since the government bailed it out.
That's News at 1, daily at 1 p.m. on SABC News.
Get all the latest news from the SABC's online news services on our website. Breaking news and in-depth coverage of everything from business, sports to politics and lifestyle. Catch the top news clips and watch live streaming of major news events on the SABC News YouTube channel whenever. Stay connected on the SABC News Facebook page and have your say on news that matters to you. And for the latest headlines and live updates from our reporters, follow us on Twitter. SABC Digital News, anytime, anywhere.
Who are we, you ask? This is who we are.
We are technologically driven.
We are unashamedly Afrocentric.
We advise you not only on legal matters,
but on health issues as well.
We bring imagination to life.
We celebrate arts and culture and lifestyle.
We tackle life challenges head on.
We dig deep. We probe. We question.
We invite you to take a view from our house, as we tell it without fear, separating fiction from factual. We are the SABC News Channel.
All news, all global, all the time.
Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, this is a live debate on the state of municipalities as it refers to service delivery in the form of water, sanitation, electricity, and other such things. Well, we have indeed run out of time. I'm going to start with the UCDP. Your closing comments, sir.
Yeah, as the UCDP, we are saying we are actually calling on all South Africans to stand up, speak out against Nkandla, speak out against e-tolling, and vote the UCDP to make a change.
Thank you very much, ACDP. Your closing comments. You have 30 seconds.
As ACDP, we say, yes, we are a government in waiting. We are a government in waiting, and now that is why Christians, at this present moment, they start to see that ACDP, it is the future party. That is why we say, vote ACDP. That is why, again, we've just signed a church with 8 million membership. You will be shocked. ACDP is a government in waiting.
Thank you very much, sir. Your 30 seconds is up. Mr. Baloyi, DA, your 30 seconds for your closing argument.
A DA government will save this country 30 billion rand a year. We'll cut corruption, we'll speed up service delivery, we will introduce a constituency-based system to make our MPs accountable. Join the DA, vote for the DA, together for change, together for jobs. Let's stand up and fight in Nkandla.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tsenoli.
South Africans can trust the institutions that the ANC led to create to deal with corruption. We already as we speak have convicted fraudsters. Many of them are going to go to jail, more of them at the municipal level. Just today, the president launched one of the biggest housing, which when finished will be 30,000, representing the example of government working together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sonoli from the ANC. Last but not least, Mr. Theo Fenton, your closing arguments, having listened to these parties.
Yes. Vuyo, I would say, Vuyo, three things. If we look at local government, three things only. We must get corruption under control because it wastes the money that poor people need. That's the one thing. The second thing, we must get skills going as soon and as fast as possible, because if we don't do it, we are facing in this country a rebellion of the poor. And the rebellion of the poor has to do with rising expectations. Government is actually delivering, and on that delivery, people expect more. And to manage that, we need skills, and we can't afford corruption.
Thank you very much, Theo Fender. Well, to my panelists, and all of you sitting here, but also to those of you at home or in your car listening to this program on SAFM, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Join us again next week, same time. Goodbye.
SABC, sharing 20 years of inspiration.
Coming up this week.
March is Human Rights Month. This coming Sunday at 2 p.m. on Rights and Recourse, we will be discussing immigration laws, asylum seekers, refugees and xenophobia with a panel of experts.
Join Dumile Mateza on Rights and Recourse every Sunday at 14 to 1500 CAT.
Crippling strike drags on the Platinum Belt. Trade union NUMSA is now threatening a massive strike in the steel and engineering sector. Government says staggered power cuts are likely to continue in coming days. Eskom declared a state of emergency early this morning. Industrial customers have been asked to reduce consumption by another 10%. Thousands of striking AMCU members poured into Pretoria today and marched to the union buildings to hand over a petition to President Jacob Zuma. The union is unhappy about what it calls harassment and discrimination by the government.
That's business news, weekdays at 8 p.m. on SABC News.
No turning back. The scene is set for Shri Ndawani's return to stand trial for the murder of his bride, Annie. Remembering Solomon Mahlangu, his death 35 years ago, is commemorated across the country.
They've tried so hard, so many times in the finals. This is their day, and just watch the celebration, one of the greatest in the game.
And it's